Authentication and authorization, two of the most important concepts in Azure security. If you don't understand this, managing access in Azure can become confusing. So in the next 5 minutes, I'll explain this using a simple hotel example, and then we'll see how it works inside Microsoft Azure. In the last video as well, we covered Microsoft Entra ID, how that works, the basic concepts, and I just thought to elaborate more on authentication and authorization because it is very important and interesting to understand for cloud security. So we'll understand this by a simple hotel analogy. So imagine you arrive at a hotel. At the reception, you show your ID and booking details. The receptionist verifies your identity. This is called authentication that you have booked a room in their hotel. Then the receptionist verifies it in their system that the identity matches with the room booked, right? After verification, you receive a key card or a key. This key will allow you to access only the room which you have booked and not access to any other room in their premises. You can go to your room, elevator, maybe the gym, right? But you cannot enter any other guest rooms or staff only areas. So this is called authorization. Basically, what can you access, right? So in the authentication part, you prove who you say you are, and in the authorization we get access permissions allocated to us. So now coming back in Azure, the same process happens as well. First, Azure verifies your identity. So whenever you log in with your username and password, your credentials goes to Entra ID. Then the Entra ID checks that if the user is in their system, and if yes, it can prompt you for the multi-factor authentication or the conditional access policies also. And whenever you log in, authentication always comes first, which is that it verifies your identity, and after it successfully verifies that you are in the Entra ID of the organization, you can log into the Azure. After login, the next part is the authorization. Basically, Azure checks what resources you are allowed to access. You can work on Azure. So once you have logged into Azure, you can go to your subscription, resource group, specific resources, and based on the roles you have, the permissions. In Azure, we have various permissions like reader, contributor, and owner, right? Reader allows you to only read the resources and not make any modifications. Contributor allows you to modify the resources, and owner role is the full permission. Basically, you can add roles to another user identities and manage their permissions, create resources, modify or delete, right? So based on these permissions, Azure allows you to make the changes. There are other roles as well, but these are the more common ones which you will work with in Azure. And also you can think of Entra ID as the hotel reception. It confirms who you are before giving you access. Now let's go to Azure and check how we can verify and check this in Azure. Now to verify in Azure, the authentication part will go to Microsoft Entra ID. And in Entra ID, we have users, right? And I'll take an example of my user. Whenever I log into this Azure account, I'll give the username and password and an optional multi-factor authentication. And this will define just authentication part. That doesn't mean you have an access to make any resources, modify, delete anything, right? Whenever a user account is created in Azure, the user implicitly does not have any access. You have to grant permissions roles to the user so that they can make changes in the Azure account. And to make any changes in the Azure account, I would have to have permissions on the subscriptions. That is the authorization part. For that, I can go to subscription like the cloud demos and check what permissions I have. I can assign permissions also with the identity and access management here. And if you want to know how to assign the permissions, policies at the different layers of the Azure management group, subscription, resource group, resources, you will see the link of the video in the above right section. And coming back to see the authorization part, for me to have access, I can simply go to view my access, and this will tell whatever permissions I have in this subscription to make changes or modify or delete, right? So in this case, I have the permission as an owner at the subscription level, right? This resource being the subscription, and I can make any changes, delete, create resources, manage and assign permissions to other users as well. And also assigning the right access to the users to work specifically on their job role is also important. For example, database admin should have access to only the database virtual machines and not to other resources, right? So this was a quick video regarding authentication and authorization part, because when I also started learning, this was very interesting how Azure authenticates and authorizes other users. And the quick recap: authentication is who are you, and which is handled by Microsoft Entra ID in Azure. And authorization is what can you access once you have logged in. First, Azure verifies your identity, then it checks your permissions. And if you understand this, you understand the foundation of Azure security. If this video has helped you, like and subscribe to Cloud with Aarya.